Welcome back. A new documentary about the Great Lakes will be screened Thursday night in Sturgeon Bay. All Too Clear, Beneath the Surface of the Great Lakes, explores the effects on the world's largest freshwater ecosystem caused by the invasion of these little guys, the quagga mussels, first found in the Great Lakes in 1989, a year after zebra mussels showed up in the same waters. Their 35-year existence in the lakes after being transported from Eastern Europe on cargo ships has had a profound impact, which is captured with incredible clarity by two Canadian filmmakers. And we welcome in the filmmakers right now, Yvonne Drabert and Zach Melnick from Inspired Planet Productions. They are the co-directors of this film. So for either one of you, what inspired you to make this film?
Well, we live on the Bruce Peninsula in Ontario, which is actually a mirror of the Door Peninsula in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And where we are, the lake whitefish is basically collapsing. So communities and commercial fishers who have fished these guys for a really long time are in a bad situation. So we wanted to tell that story, really tell the story of the whitefish and their decline, and use this new underwater drone technology to show people what was going on out there.
Yeah, that underwater drone technology is absolutely fabulous. Yvonne, let me ask you this, because a lot of people are going to wonder, we were, at least I was, living in these parts, much more familiar with the zebra mussel than the quagga mussel. So give us a little distinction between the two, because they arrived here, as we mentioned, a year apart, but the quaggas are, I guess, much more voracious than the zebra?
Yeah, there are actually quadrillions of quagga mussels out there right now, carpeting the bottom of lakes. Michigan, Huron, Erie, Ontario, they're all over. And they're cousins of the zebra mussel. They're a little bit bigger than the zebra mussel. They're about the size of your thumb when they are adults. And they're a little hardier than the zebra mussel. They like to live a little deeper. And what's happened is they've really outcompeted the zebra mussels. So you might notice we don't see zebra mussels around the shores much anymore. It's partially because quagga mussels have outcompeted them, but also another little invasive species called the round goby that can eat the zebra mussels. The goby can only eat the baby quagga mussels, and so that's why we get so many quagga mussels. Once they get big, nothing really eats them, and they can just make lots of babies themselves.
All right, and they have carpeted the floor, as you found out. So Zach, I'm curious, you piloted the ROV, the camera, the underwater camera. So was there a moment in any of that where even this infestation surprised you?
Well, as part of filming All Too Clear, we actually found a shipwreck. And this shipwreck, other than being like incredibly cool to find a shipwreck, was just like completely and utterly covered in, millions of quagga mussels. So you can't even see the wood of the ship. It's just one big quagga mussel, basically. And almost nobody knows that this has happened, even though they've really fundamentally changed how our lakes work.
Right, there is a constructive nature to this that I want to get to, but the destructive nature is the one that alarms everybody. It certainly was when the alarm bells sounded when these were first found in the Great Lakes, right? You mentioned being covered on the shipwrecks. Conservationists and folks who want to recover and preserve these wrecks. Yvonne, what do quagga mussels do to shipwrecks?
Yeah, so quagga mussels actually have these little kind of hairy legs. They're called byssal threads. And so they use those to latch onto things and to hang on. So you can't just go down and wipe the quagga mussels off the wrecks because they're going to take little pieces of wood with them. So eventually, over time, they're degrading that structure. And, you can get up to 40,000 quagga mussels within a square meter, so about 3 feet by 3 feet. And so eventually that adds weight. So a bunch of these wrecks are kind of delicate. So there's a whole lot of weight pushing down on them now because of quagga mussels. And the other thing that quagga mussels do is their waste is acidic. So if you have something like, say, a World War II plane in the lake, now those quagga mussels are just kind of deteriorating those planes and they're disappearing.
So the wrecks could be lost because of this. We know some of the ecosystem things have been lost because of the mussels invasion here. But what has that opened up the opportunity? When you watch the trailer for All Too Clear, that's like the big tease at the end, right? Like it has changed and it has afforded opportunities. Without giving away the entire film, what are those opportunities?
Well, for us as filmmakers who really wanted to show people kind of the magic of the Great Lakes, we see endless images of the oceans on our TVs, right? But we wanted to kind of make the Great Lakes look a little bit like that. And because the water has been made so much clearer, about 3 times as clear in those offshore waters, because of the mussels, it's really opened up. It's like raised the curtains on the Great Lakes, if you will. So combine that with the underwater drone technology, like over my shoulder there, and we're able to like get inside schools of fish and show people these fairly spectacular images.
Yeah.
Because the water is so clear, right?
Oh, I thought I was looking at video from the Caribbean. I mean, I recognized a trout, and there was a lake sturgeon in one, so I knew that wasn't. But the rest of it could have been in the Caribbean. It is beautiful, but does it allow for fish species to come back? Will this bring back certain species or help bolster certain species?
Yeah, so how the lakes are now, where there's fewer nutrients because of the mussels, they're trapping a lot of those nutrients in the bottom. They've changed our lakes to be more like what we think the lakes were like after the glaciers.
Okay.
So some of the species that were designed to live in those kind of waters, fish like cisco, so that's chub and lake herring you might have heard about, bloater is another one. They're designed to live in these low nutrient environments. So they were fished out or kind of died off because of pollution and that kind of thing. But maybe now there's a chance that if we bring those species back, help them make a recovery, they could jumpstart the whole thing and help our native fishes thrive again in the Great Lakes.
All right, so the folks that are going to watch this film on Thursday night in Sturgeon Bay, or you can join online, we'll get to that information in just a second. And from the reaction that you've received already in Canada, very popular up in Canada for you folks already, what are you hoping that people take away as the message from this, for either one of you?
Well, I just hope that people can look at the Great Lakes outside their back door, really, and think of how wonderful it is, how cool it is, that ecosystem is, because now they can see it in a way they haven't been able to see it before. So increasing that appreciation and that love, really, of the Great Lakes that I think a lot of us who live around the Great Lakes share.
And I think at the event on Thursday, there's going to be some local folks from Door County, fishers and other environmental folks who know this area so well and can talk about really what's happening in Green Bay here and what's happening, in Lake Michigan on the other side of the peninsula. That there's kind of a cool thing happening in Green Bay where the whitefish are doing really well. And that's not something that's happening elsewhere in the Great Lakes. So Green Bay is a pretty special place.
Well, Yvonne and Zach, this seems like a pretty special film. Can't wait to see it. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, tickets for Thursday's screening in Sturgeon Bay, they're sold out, but you can still participate free of charge online. We have that information for you at WBAY.com. And Yvette and Zach telling me they're also going to be in town this fall for the Green Bay Film Festival for a screening of All Too Clear.